What is up, folks? Welcome back to another live stream repair. Yes, let's see if we can do some easy work here. We've got a couple of pods with no power, one with some bad DC filters. We'll kick things off with Richard here. No lights, no power, couple of watts from the wall. That all looks like our favorite issue with these HomePods. No power caused by a dead diode on the amp. Where did my... Okay, let's dig in. Oh yeah, let's go ahead and post a link in the Discord server too, since we've been real bad about that. Alright, cool. Discord has been notified. Richard and Griff have all been notified. Here we go. Oh, Stefan, that was fast. Welcome back. I envy your clean workspace. Maybe I'll find the time before the weekend is over to clean my desk up. Clean my room up and give you guys a freaking room tour for once. Where you can actually see the floor. I've got a great floor. You just can't see it. Yes, very nice. Oh, forgot something. I'll be right back. Where did I put it? Where did it go? Not very exciting, but we went to Goodwill this weekend. Actually, Value Village. I got myself a couple of cool stuff. We got this smart watch. If you could feel how light this was, you would feel my concern. Interesting. Smartwatch. Pulls charge before use. Huh. Wait. I was supposed to get gold, not rose gold. This is malarkey. I want my money back. I got scammed. Well, we'll save this for a little fun time video when we don't have stuff to fix up. But I got that. I got an Apple Watch Series 3, 38 mil. For 21 bucks. Unfortunately, it says right there it's locked. I'm sure that's true. Got one other watch here that I had to grab. I thought this was really cool. They didn't actually charge me 30 bucks for this. They only charged me like $3 for it. But if we get up close here, you will see Motorly Bowl. I don't know Motor Bowl, something Motor Bowl. General Motors and Chrysler, or Daimler Chrysler and Ford, all on there. I thought that was really neat. I had to snag that. I'm not a huge watch guy, but I do get fancied by a shiny object here and there. Alright, enough goofing around. Let's get up close here with Richard's amplifier board and do a little bit of maintenance first. Yeah, we're going to replace these 4 capacitors right in the middle. These are our DC filters for the Class D audio amplifier that the subwoofer uses. And this is one of the most common issues with HomePods, are these filters going bad and leading to death farts and roasted bass speakers. So we're going to get those replaced. Alright, time to break out my favorite flux, our latest acquisition, the Nano Flux Paste. Super clear, perfect thickness, no smoke. I mean, let me tell you, and you'll see it yourself. This is some good stuff. I'm going to be buying a bunch more of it, and heck, I might even resell it. Because it takes a while to get the stuff over here. But, check that out. Not a whiff of smoke. The only smoke that's coming off of that is from the leaded solder and the flux that's in my solder here. And it's just, it looks beautiful. Everything's nice and shiny. Our new filters here, they will go right on without a hassle. Look at that. It was even easy to separate those two fellas that weren't supposed to be together. It just does what you want it to do, and it doesn't make a fuss doing it. Alright, now let's take a look at our, 46K dated, certainly dead Schottky diode, causing our power problems. Let's get that replaced. That's it. Let's get it back together. We're going pretty slow on this first one here. We should be almost done with it. But it's the warm-up repair for today. That's what we'll say. Make sure if you have any OLED screens, there are. I don't know if where you live if this is a thing, but I know in America there are companies that purchase cracked and/or broken OLED screens for a fairly decent price. They refurbish them. Why is it? Ooh. Yeah, it's not great stuff on. Zoom, what is up? Welcome back. If we have enough time today after we finish these 4 repairs, well, 3 now, I would love to tear apart that white prototype HomePod that we got in. It is now official. I have mailed off their trade offer. I offered them 2 space gray refurbished HomePods in turn for their prototype first gen that has whatever is going on with it. They didn't want me to tear it apart, but they were as for the fix that they were mailing it in for originally, but they were happy to trade it for 2 perfectly working refurbs from yours truly. So quite a great deal for both parties. If you ask me, they don't care about it being special or whatever software is running on it. They just wanted a working HomePod, and they didn't pay anything out of pocket, and ended up with 2 space gray refurbs, and I get to play around. So we'll see if we've got time.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
All right, well, that one is looking and sounding great. Let's grab the next one. Is it Griff? Yes, it is. We've got Griff again with us. After that, we've got Jeffrey. We'll go ahead and let Jeffrey know they're up next. Jeffrey. Let's see. All right, Jeffrey has been messaged. Griff was already messaged. Let's get their name up. Ooh. If I'm not mistaken, there shouldn't actually be anything currently wrong with this one, but they have gotten a HomePod fixed with us before, and they wanted to see how it went and send their other one in to prevent similar issues. Ribbon cable glued to the top. I've actually, but only once, ever torn a ribbon cable detaching it from that top basket, and I think it was totally my fault too. As for sticking the top back on, absolutely, if you don't heat it back up, then there's no chance of it getting sticky enough to really stick down worth a crap. If you want to go extra, then what you do is you drip a bunch of alcohol on it and rub it in with your finger on both sides of the adhesive, and then you heat it up with your heat gun. That makes it primo sticky.
I'm having trouble connecting.
All right.
I'm having trouble.
So that seems to be working all right for here and now. Let's see if we can't change that. Now, what we will do though is we will tear this down, take a look all around, replace anything that might look funny. It's getting new DC filters no matter what, since they all eventually go bad and will cause death parts. We'll see if it has the same Schottky diode that fails and causes no power, and get that replaced. It'll get a new subwoofer gasket to replace the old foam, since that will be a failure point in the future. And it'll give it a slightly tighter bass response. That should cover all the common stuff. that we can reasonably prevent. I mean, if we really wanted to, we could charge like an extra premium service and reball the storage chip on people's logic boards. That would be the only other thing I could really think to do there. But that would be like an extra $60 right there, because it takes a lot of time and effort, and sometimes it comes back. It fails and it comes back, and you got to do it again. The important part about pulling on this cable to avoid tearing it is the pressure, or the part of the cable that you're putting pressure on to pull it needs to be at its thinnest point. So like, you see how it's wider here and then it gets thinner. Let me grab another ribbon cable to show you folks. Here we go. So this is what it looks like in there. You don't want to pull it by this part, because that is how it tears from right there. You want to grab as far up as you can, butt your finger up right up against where it's stuck to the basket, and pull straight down. Don't pull from the wider part. That's how you tear them. But yeah, what I do, I actually kind of roll my finger in there and use my finger as a wedge to pry it away from the basket. Sort of as I pull down, I'm rolling my finger in there, and it's pulling my finger in there and making it a lot easier. What is up with my screwdriver now? I'll go ahead and put a couple of pieces of tape on there. That seems to help. All right, got some tape on there. The problem is the button gets real thin. Where did my button go? I kind of need that. Did you guys see where it went? Where'd it go? Where's my button? can't... Oh, here it is. Oh, come on. Yes. Okay. And then we can put this back on. Let's try 3 pieces of tape. Kapton tape fixes everything, right? Yeah. No. We're not gonna get anything fixed today if I gotta keep taking this apart every 5 seconds. I'm about to just use this the rest of the stream. Yeah, I mean, if I want to break the HomePod, I can put it on a big drill. If I don't want to... The reason why people use these is they're small and compact, easy to handle. It's very difficult to do that around with a big chunky drill, you know. I wonder if anybody out there has the new version of these. I've got the ES15. They've got a new version of it out. I wonder if it's any better. I'll spend the money on it. To not deal with this every 2 weeks. And then there's this piece of crap. It's time for new tools, folks. I think it's time. No, you don't need to glue it back together. Take the glue off, but you don't need to glue it back together. That's what all the freaking million different gaskets on in this thing are for. The glue doesn't even seal anything. There are so many gaskets before anything would leak out through the glue. If the glue's what's sealing what's keeping your HomePod sealed, then you've got bigger problems. Huh? Oh. What do we have for a Schottky diode here? Ooh, a 46K. Alright. Good call on the maintenance griff. Oh yeah, if the glue seal isn't causing any issues when you're putting it back together, you don't have to rip it out. I only rip it out if it's already coming off. Otherwise, I don't bother. Path of least resistance there. Mike, welcome back. I'll leave it up to you folks. After we fix these HomePods here, do we try to finish fixing Mike's HomePod here? It's got quite a lot going on with it. Someone had previously tried repairing it and dropped the logic board onto the power supply. And then Mike sent it into us and the subwoofer came loose and bounced around and smashed up the amplifier board. So we're trying to rebuild Mike's amplifier here and get that working for him, so we don't have to use a replacement amp again, because it it is the replacement amp. Or we could take apart that prototype HomePod that I recently acquired. I'll leave it up to you folks in the chat. What do we want to do? Ooh, I was kind of hoping people wanted to see us try to fix Mike's pod. Yes, I would love to. Then we shall. Let's try to cruise through these last 2.5 here. Time to lock it in. I mean, if we have to, we'll just steal parts from someone else's HomePod and say it showed up with it missing. Ah! If this screwdriver doesn't curse us today, please play nice. There it goes, acting up again. That's not me stopping. If it messes with me one more time, it will be faster to just use this the rest of the stream. We will do it. I will do it. That's what we started with. And I will go back to it. Yeah, be a good little screwdriver. See, you just gotta threaten things with the trash can sometimes. Marvin, what is up? Welcome. Appreciate the compliments. I do believe there are a few folks in Germany that do offer HomePod repair services. I don't think any of them live stream it like we do here, but I have a fair bit of confidence that they probably do better work than we do. Germans, man, they just tend to take things to the next level. I would consider moving to Germany if there weren't already 2 shops that I already have on my website offering said repairs in Germany. But I don't want to compete. My options currently, if I want to move to another country, it's looking like Canada or Japan right now. Because they both have pretty great public services. Good options for education for our little one. And no one that I know of offering repair services. So, it is a whole world over there full of dead HomePods waiting for it. Let's make sure we didn't break nothing here. Very good. Jeffrey, your turn. You are up. And then we've got number 416. Let's let them know. All right.
I'm having trouble connecting.
Beautiful. Let's knock them out. No lights, no power. Oh! Only 1 watt from the wall? Do my eyes deceive me? Is that a flat 0 to 1? Or is that a spike down to 1? Yep, 7 down to 1. So it pulls power for a brief moment and then it's only pulling practically nothing. But for a moment there, it does show a few watts. So that tells me we don't have a dead diode like we normally do. But we don't have a blown fuse either. If it was a blown fuse, we wouldn't see that kilowatt meter budge at all. It would be no different than having the power cable unplugged. So the fact that, oh, there is a little tiny bit of a crack on the top here too. So I wonder if we've got some kind of physical damage up top here that's causing our issues, or if we've got a tiny little capacitor on our logic board up top that has shorted out. Those are usually the only 2 things I see that explain that kind of power draw with no power symptoms. Before it completely died, the screen stopped working. I was able to connect to it, but not see the top work. Interesting. Would you happen to have anyone or anything that you live with that would have knocked this over and put it back without telling you? Did you buy it used? Is there any reason why it could have, or how it could have maybe fallen over? Let's see if that's even the case here. But that's my suspicion here. Oh yeah, that's it. 100%. Check them out. I should not be able to stick my tool under there. Yeah. There's your problem. Check out these cool moves. Ta-da! Okay, so here's the deal. If they wanted a replacement display, which they need, I'm gonna basically charge them as much as it would cost for any other common hardware repair here. So we may as well, and what we're gonna do is tear this down all the rest of the way and do that usual hardware maintenance to prevent the other common issues and what we thought we were gonna be fixing here, so that they don't spend all this money on just a replacement display just to send it back to us in the near future for some other very easily preventable issue. Let's sanity check and make sure that it is working.
I'm having trouble connecting.
Yep, there you go. So we just needed a new display there. We'll go ahead and tear this down the rest of the way and make it worthwhile. So this is going to cost the same as any other no power repair. It's going to be $70 with shipping both ways included if you're in the US. It's a $50 repair if you provided your own shipping both ways. And you get the same warranty too. No surprises here. It'll be exactly what you thought you were going to pay when you filled the form out before you sent it in. And we can't really fix that display because what happened was it didn't just separate those two boards. Those boards are soldered together, and it had, when it separated, it had ripped the pads off the board. So even if we wanted to, we couldn't just replace and solder as much as we want. It is, well, actually, I mean, we could run trace wires, and I keep all of these old HomePod parts around. Even if it's seemingly completely unfixable. You never know what techniques you might gain in the future, or heck, even what parts you might be able to use from it, keeping it around too. Woofer looks good. We'll get rid of that old foam subwoofer gasket and replace it with a new solid rubber one. There's two reasons why I like to replace the subwoofer gasket. One, we use rubbing alcohol to break up the glue that holds this speaker basket down, and the foam subwoofer gasket loves to soak it up and get puffy and crack and expand and crack. So it tends to make the subwoofer gasket not reusable once you've used rubbing alcohol to open these things up. And then the second reason is, I mean, it's foam, and foam is like the first thing that tends to age and fail in any kind of speaker. Not even smart speakers, just regular speakers. So we like to replace it. It's ever so slightly porous, so replacing it with a solid rubber gives it just a slightly better seal. And if you are, if you're fancy enough, you might even notice it. You'd certainly notice a difference if you had two identical rooms full of HomePods, and the only difference being the subwoofer gaskets between them. You could definitely hear a difference. Maybe not so much if you've got if you replace the gasket in one HomePod in a room. Unless you were really focused on it. But to each their own. Some people can't even hear the subfrequencies anymore. You can still feel it. Pretty much most any HomePod repair that you're going to do is going to require some amount of soldering. And in addition to that, if you get lucky and you come across one like what we had here, where it's just a dead display, you would be doing your customer a disservice by not taking it all the way like we do here. We know these filters go bad. They go bad so often, along with those Schottky diodes that normally cause the no power issue. You're doing yourself and your customer a disservice not replacing those things in particular. Not a very common trope among electronics repair. You generally don't want to just replace things that are working just fine. But when you know better, then you should do better. So here we go, some replacement filters first. These tend to go bad. All ceramic capacitors naturally decay over time and lose their effectiveness at filtering unwanted DC voltage. It's just a Class D audio amp thing. You filter it, and the filters they go bad. So we replace those to keep the death farts away and the subwoofer speaker nice and happy and healthy. And then we're going to flip this around and see if it has the infamous Schottky diode. It does! A 46K dated Schottky diode. It's the 46Ks and the 48Ks that consistently fail. So we'll get that replaced before it does. And that should make this one very happy HomePod for a very long time. You only need to worry about the Schottky diodes with the date codes 1746K and 1748K. If it doesn't have that date code on it, don't worry about it. And if you have no power, then it's probably not that diode. Don't do what we do here, though. We've done enough of these to know what to look for here and not bother testing them. Pull the diode off if you think it's dead. Confirm that it's shorted by itself off the board, and then you're good to replace it. if you pull what you thought was a dead diode off of the amp board and there's still a short on the amplifier, then there's a few other things to look for. We're adding some new findings to our website. But by far and large, this diode failure is the most common failure for HomePods and the most common cause for no power. Nah, there's I just saw that message. There's no chance that heat could have caused this, cause like I said, there's a crack in the top plastic. And then if it was heat, it probably would have desoldered itself. It wouldn't have cracked and pulled the pads off the board with it. That also would have been, it would have needed to be really hot. None of the solder inside of these HomePods is going to melt at lower than like 350, 375 degrees Celsius. And I don't think anywhere in the world is getting quite that hot, even if it's on and running too. Oh, that's sad. 2 minis just isn't. No amount of minis would ever be the same as a full-size HomePod. But it could hold me over. It could work until I figured it out. Even as a, okay, if I had to choose between one full-size HomePod or 2 minis for a small bedroom setup, I would probably go with the minis and put them on each side of the bed, so that, or each side of the bed, or your seat or whatever. Just because I feel like you'll get a more immersive experience from the wider sound stage by placing the minis on either side of you than what you could get from the single HomePod, even if it's got more power and speakers inside of it. You can only put it in one spot, and it can only throw that sound so far. Do I only fix HomePods? Don't listen to Mike. I did not. Mike's not even married, so he's lying. I fix whatever people are willing to send in that I think we have a good shot at fixing. I don't generally take things that there are dedicated repair shops out there already doing, like a lot of battery and screen replacement stuff. I probably wouldn't do. And it's also just because, like, I wouldn't be able to charge you a competitive price compared to a shop that you could take. Like, there's so many out there doing that kind of stuff. You could probably find somewhere local doing it and save a few bucks versus trying to ship it to me. But that said, not many shops out there live stream all of their work, so some people are willing to pay for that experience, and I'm happy to provide it. Just as long as we're not getting, dozens of iPhones and MacBooks every day for batteries and screens. That's not what I want to do here. But I'm happy to take the one-offs, along with anything else. Like we've had like a Juve portable red light therapy device that needed a new battery. We've had multiple Steam Decks in for shell swaps, and one that needed a new USB-C port. That one was my favorite. I think that might be my favorite repair all around, was the Steam Deck, because they sent it into us for no power. And when we got it, we plugged it in. Sure enough, it wasn't lighting up. No matter what you did with the power button and any power brick, it wouldn't turn on at all. And it wasn't pulling any power from the wall. So that was kind of suspicious. I tore it down. We started looking around, and we almost got stumped. But then we said, okay, let's take it back to square one, plug it in, and see if we're even getting power through the USB port right onto the board. And sure enough, we weren't. So we took a closer look inside of the USB port, and that's where we saw all the pins were mangled up inside. Boom. Looked up someone else that had already replaced a Steam Deck USB-C port and found the replacement part. Ordered it up, got it in, had a second stream after it showed up and fixed that port and got it going again. Oh, that was... I hadn't had the satisfaction of a fix like that since my very first HomePod that I fixed for myself. We've also had some Xbox Elite Series 2 controllers sent in for stick drifts and various mods. What else? Brian sent in his MacBook a couple days ago. He just needed new speakers, and it turned into also needing a new battery because his battery was rather puffy. And then his screen was also, the anti-glare coating was coming off of his screen, and he was expecting to need to replace it. But I said, no. I got this. And, oh, you can even see there. You see that line on the logic board? That, again, another sign that this was certainly dropped on its head, because that's from the display pushing down on it. We actually got really lucky that this did not push far enough into the logic board and start breaking stuff on there. That would have made this a more expensive repair. But the display, I don't mind replacing that and throwing that in as part of hardware maintenance and making it all worth it. New logic board? We're gonna need to talk. Bose earbuds that need new batteries. I have worked on earbuds before. I don't do AirPods because you can't really work on them. But you are welcome to let me know what model number earbuds you have, and I will see if it's possible to take them apart and glue them back together again. I have done earbuds battery replacements before. Totally doable depending on the model. The two challenges with earbuds are finding a way to get them apart and back together again without making them look like crap or sealed like crap. And then the second issue is finding replacement batteries. Depending on how the The original battery is shaped. If it's a standard shape, standard battery, pretty easy to find. More custom earbuds with custom battery shapes tend to be more expensive batteries that are harder to find. HomePod cable with an EU plug. AliExpress, eBay. I don't know of any place, really.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info.
We did it.
I'm having trouble.
We did it, and then some. We'll put Jeff to the side. And let's take a look at number 416 here. I presume just DC filters / death farts. Let's take a listen. About half a second after I unplug this from power, let's listen for how bad of a pop it makes. Ooh, yeah, that definitely, that's the issue right there. All right, I'm sure if we left it sitting around for long enough, it would start farting and restarting on us, but I don't want to torture the woofer any more than it's already been. Let's get this apart and see what all it needs here besides filters. Yeah, honestly, I would pretty much just rock the US plug with an adapter if I were you. I wouldn't bother spending money on a specific cable. We get the occasional EU plug HomePod in here for repair, and people ask me if they can trade me power cables. I don't mind them. I've got plenty of power cables. I don't mind having a few UK plugs sitting around. I can't sell them because I don't have, I've only got like 1 or 2 of each color. But I try to tell people don't worry about it. If you're in the US and you have an EU plugged HomePod, keep it because it's got a fuse in the frickin' power cord. I'd rather have an EU plugged HomePod with an adapter on it to make it US plug in order to have a fuse built into the power cord. That is neato. Quite dusty. Woo! Yes. Let me grab my EU plug here really quick. The fuse for these bad boys is right here. Look at that. And, believe it or not, I have had a 1 or 2 EU customers mail their pod into me for no power repair, and it ended up being the blown fuse in the power cord. Unfortunate. But when people don't have the tools or the means to try other things. UK, yeah. No, I'm a dumb American. So you gotta bear with me. Severely undercultured. My favorite food is mac and cheese. With corn on it. The only time I've traveled outside of the country, 2 times actually. Once for work, I went to Puerto Rico. Oh, I love carne asada. Okay, it might be tied with my favorite food for mac and cheese, carne asada. Puerto Rico, man. And then wife and I went to Japan for our honeymoon. The UK plugs are large because they are in charge and have a fuse built in. And I love it. Woofer looks and smells fantastic. It has survived the torture. Yeah, I know it doesn't count. I know Puerto Rico doesn't count. But if you're a US citizen and you've never been to Puerto Rico before, go there and tell me that it doesn't feel like visiting another country. It was so beautiful there. Everyone was so nice. Different food, like real authentic food everywhere you went. Driving anywhere was kind of terrifying. But yeah, don't ask me about anything about U.S. history at all for that matter. I'm awful at history, social studies, geography, that whole thing. That is my weakest point. I actually failed social studies 1 year in high school, and I had to do it over again in summer school. That sucked. But that summer school social studies teacher was so cool. He would basically, our morning assignment every day was for him to turn on the news and flip between the news channels and have us write down all of the different stories and basically discuss and determine what was bullcrap and what wasn't. Pretty surprising too for a school over in eastern side of Washington. A teacher that like cared that much to try to get us to learn about how the government works and politics and trying to not be so susceptible to propaganda, but, well, can't say he didn't try. He was also surprisingly, well, maybe not surprisingly. Usually, our social studies / history teachers went hand in hand with our English / language arts teachers, and he was pretty good at that too. He had a great way of teaching. making it entertaining and engaging for a bunch of high school students that otherwise wouldn't have given a crap. Every social studies teacher you've ever had was hard right? Oh, that's so weird, Mike. And it's even weirder because in elementary school, I remember we had a substitute teacher come in one day. And he used to be, I think, in the Navy working on a submarine. You couldn't have ran into a... Oh, man. Nothing more left than that guy. He was also the teacher that taught us about the history of the toilet. Oh, I guess we should see if this needs it. No, it doesn't even need a new diode. I won't bother. We've got a 52K dated diode there, so I am not going to replace that. It doesn't need it. If the HomePod gets warm on the right side when plugged in, it is the diode, right? Most likely. There is no certainty in life, and much less so when you're talking about electronics. But usually, the warmth on the side is from the diode being shorted out and generating a lot of heat. Well, to be clear, I don't recommend anyone under my list of repair folks around the world. Very simply, those are purely just people that didn't look like scammers to me that said, yes, I'm willing to work on HomePods. If I start getting complaints from people about someone's work, then I take them off the website, but that's about it. I've had someone ask if they could pay to be the only person, and I was like, no, that's not the point. The point is to get as many names out there and as many options out there for people. That said, $140 for a repair is, let me think about that. You know, back when we first started doing this was over 3 years ago, people were paying about up to that much because we were charging $80 to $90 upwards. So it was a $70 to $90 repair range at our peak. And we also weren't including shipping either way. So you were potentially paying, depending on how much was broken and what all needed replaced, you were paying potentially up to $90 for a repair, plus the 10 to 20 bucks to ship it to me, plus another 10 to 20 to ship it back to you. On top of that, some people were also paying extra to have it colored. So now they're looking at $130 for the repair and customization, and then another 15 to 30 bucks for shipping both ways. So they're paying well more than that. These days, with shipping both ways included, you're almost never going to pay more than 80 bucks for a repair with us. A much better deal, but we've also gotten much better shipping deals, and we've gotten way more efficient at our repair process. So we can do more in the same amount of time. We can charge a little less, just a little less. I still have to pay taxes and make it worth my time. Make it. If I'm not making enough off of this, I will go insane and probably stop. But as fun as it is, when you have so many of them to do, and you have to keep doing it over and over again, you do have to make it worth your time. And they might be charging a lot more for their repairs, but from what I can tell, they seem all perfectly fine. Otherwise, they don't seem sketchy or shady or anything. Never had anyone complain about them. I think there was someone actually that lived near them and ended up just walking down there and getting it fixed locally, which was very convenient for him. And then my competition in America, I've had people complain to me about them, like, what do you want me to do about it? Like, yeah. I did my best, and you still went to them instead. And then you complain to me about it. $200. Oof. Ooh. That's rough. Did the woofer smell? Oh yeah. No, we checked it. It smelled nice and fine. Mike, if you want your name on the website, you can for the low price of $5 a day. We'll do that. $5 a day. Actually, no. I'll do you better. How much does my server cost me a month? 55 bucks? 50 or 55 bucks? You pay my server bill, I'll put your name on the site. I am working on a Patreon. I don't know if folks would be interested in giving me $1 on Patreon, but I figure why not? It won't cost me anything to make one, and maybe it'll motivate me to make some more and extra content and finally dig out some of these more challenging repairs that we've been putting off. Alright, let's put this together. And goodness, it looks like we've got time for mics. My wife hasn't texted me back yet. She's like 30-40 minutes away right now, so we've got some decent time to try to figure Mike's HomePod out. Oh, I saw it in the same vein as live streaming your repairs. I saw a Twitter thread the other day of people complaining about people getting their Teslas detailed and using the cameras to watch them detail their car. And it's like, you're mad about that? And they were like, yeah, like if you can't trust that your detailer is doing a good job without watching them do it, then they're not a good detailer. And it's like, no. Yeah, kinda, but not no. How about this? If you can't do your job without someone watching you do it, are you really doing your job well enough? Are you doing it with enough confidence and like geez. I don't want to be watched. I don't want to be watched. I want my work watched. Like, dude, you should be proud of your work. You should be proud of your work. And if you're not, then I mean, to each their own, I guess. Here we go, Mike. Apple does not and never has repaired first gens. Back when they were still supported at best, they just replaced them and maybe said that they repaired it, but they always replaced them. They never repaired any of them. Okay. But these days, it depends on where you live. I think we're getting close to that 7-year mark for certain countries that have that super long warranty period. Let's check out the current status of Mike's HomePod. Ooh! So we got a brief, get a brief pop out of it. And then it does nothing. So let's see here. So let's see. I have already replaced everything that I thought I saw. We had a few dented in capacitors and that cracked bit on the top of the amp. Dang, I even glued the frickin' capacitors back in too. Okay. Quick inspection. Excuse me. Quick inspection to make sure I didn't goof anything up here. And then I think what we'll do is we'll give this a quick wipe down because it still looks kind of dirty. Still looks really dirty. But all of our caps are on there. Our inductor's on there. Is our ribbon connector? Yeah, that's still on there. I don't see any reason why this is still not working. I'm gonna warm it up so that all that flux, all of the flux on here gets easier to work with, and we'll clean this up real quick, real good, real quick. Okay, that is cleaner, but it's not clean enough. Hold on. we're going all out for this one. Alright. Well, I think that's our best shot there. That looks real clean, I will say. I will say it. It looks clean. And I'll say it again. All for naught if it's still acting up here. Let's see. I gave someone my my ribbon cable. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I give someone my ribbon cable, and I want to test it outside of the HomePod first. So I'm going to grab another ribbon cable here real quick. This is a different power supply than the one from before that, that other power supply. I'm sure I could fix it, but I've got so many of these sitting around that I do not want to spend the time on that. The amplifier, however, we gotta try to save that. We gotta save the amp. Okay, fingers crossed that we got lucky here. I usually doubt that cleaning fixes anything. But yeah. It doesn't even turn on. Which is just so, it's kind of confusing because how does it the only thing I can think of is if I put the wrong cap somewhere, but these are all 63 volts. I got them oriented correctly. It's really confusing to me that before, what I did was before I worked on this, it turned on, but it would start popping after it booted up. Now, what I did was I replaced this, because this was cracked, and this cap, this cap, this cap, this cap, and this cap. Replaced all of those, because they were all dented or cracked. And now it does this. It's worse than before. It's really confusing. I'm, what could it possibly be here? Mike, this was a team failure. This was there was no I or me. There was no you here. This was a we failure. I'm still pretty stumped. What did we What did we miss? What did we do? We have a word for something like this in German. Verschlen. Oh, I can't pronounce that. I'm doomed if I move to Germany. We could point the thermal camera at it and see if anything is getting hot. Kind of nervous to do that. Let me go grab the thermal camera. Let's see if we find anything with that. I don't know where my thermal camera is. Where'd it go? Battery still? Oh, it's dead. Oh, it's not dead. Go ahead and plug it in because I have a feeling it is close to it. Oh, you guys make me nervous. Making me plug this into power and leaving it on long enough to see where the heat's going. With the way that it makes the woofer move, you guys haven't seen it. Watch how much the woofer moves when we turn this on, and you'll see why I'm concerned. I'm gonna use a logic board that I don't care about as much, because Mike's logic board very much well could still be working just fine. And I don't want to risk frying it. And I want to make sure that this screw is sitting somewhere on here when we turn this on so that it gives us a good reason to... No, I'm just kidding. All right. If this puts the nail in the coffin for Mike's HomePod's at least his amplifier here, then I blame you guys. I take no responsibility. Let's do this to... Oh, I don't have another phone mount. Here we go. Wait for it to refresh. Woo! Man, that is just too much. Oh, it's turning on. I don't like that it's turning on. I'm really nervous. I'm really scared. I'm gonna unplug it. So for a moment, I saw the main amp chip get really hot. Yeah. Every time we do that, the amp chip is getting roasted. I don't think this is gonna get fixed. Why is my screwdriver not turning on? What's going on? Well, let's get up close together here. This is not the best camera for inspection necessarily. You only get so close. But yeah, this my tweezer keeps catching right here, which means that amp chip's blowing up. If we keep trying, that's going to turn into a hole. I mean, it's too late. This amp is done. It needs to be replaced if we can fix whatever's killing it. But not looking good. I wonder if the only thing I can think of is if when it got damaged, you know, I wonder if the damage that the subwoofer did to it isn't even what killed this amp. I wonder if because there's a lot going on with this poor HomePod here. So just to recap for folks, Mike got this HomePod for free, or something, $5. I don't know. Mike got a deal on this HomePod, and we quickly found out why. But Mike bought a refurbished amp from us, this bad boy right here, and we shipped it off to him. And when they got their HomePod together with our amplifier, it what was it doing? Was it not turning on? I don't know. It wasn't working for them. So concerned that it was my board causing the problem, I had them send everything back, the whole HomePod, so that we could maybe determine what happened here. And when I got it apart, we found what looked like someone had already been in there, and Mike had looked at it and found evidence of this. But basically, someone else had tried to fix Mike's HomePod before they gave it to him, and they didn't tell him. And while they were working on it, they had the amp inside of the HomePod, and they had everything plugged in, and they had the logic board like hanging off to the side here, or maybe like this, but they must have plugged it into power, and then the logic board fell in there right on top of the power supply, and it shorted the power supply out through the logic board's shield, and caused a whole bunch of issues. Then they give it to Mike. Mike thinks it's just another dead diode, get a new amp from Nick, and then, yeah. So, we get it, and I have a feeling that the damage to the power supply, Mike's original power supply, might have done something to the new amplifier, and it was too late when we got to it and put in a different power supply and replaced all these caps and this broken part here. Basically, I don't think that the subwoofer banging this amp up actually is what killed it originally. I think it's been broken ever since we hooked up the fried power supply to it. That's the only thing I can think that makes sense. Because it just does not make sense that I replaced these 4 caps in this, and they're attached just fine. There's nothing wrong with that, and suddenly it's it's not getting any better. It would make sense that something was already damaged from that busted up power supply, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Plenty of times we've gotten HomePods sent in to us, and they had no bass issues or they wouldn't turn on. And as soon as we go to plug it into power, that was the last chance that not chance per se, that was the last power cycle that amp could survive without literally blowing a hole in itself. I'll show you what that looks like on, yeah, here. If we look in the exact same spot, it's pretty rough, and there's actually a hole. And this happens a lot, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger every time it gets plugged back into power. Obviously, you won't notice it when it's all put together and sealed up. We get to it, we take it apart, we plug it in, and more often than not, we get to witness a spectacular event on the amp chip, but not this time, unless we keep trying. If you guys want, we can keep trying, but I don't have safety glasses, so I don't want to risk my eyesight right now. So it's gonna need a new amp. I don't want to replace that amp chip and find out that something else is dead and what's frying that amp chip. So, well, heck, I guess I will, Mike. I'll Discord you since I'm gonna call it. But I think there are some other ideas that we can do here. Try to not get you spending any more money on getting a HomePod working. That would be my my goal. Well, folks, I think we have time really quick to take apart this prototype HomePod here. So there's nothing too special about this, other than the hole in the bottom of it. If you don't, for some reason, know what the bottom of your HomePod looks like, that's what it normally looks like. So it's unfortunate that they didn't just do this for all of them and then sell a USB adapter. Huge opportunity missed right there, folks, but that's how it goes. Sorry. 4 black Suburbans showed up with a bunch of men wearing suits. They were asking about a white HomePod with a hole in the bottom and if I knew anything about that. I told them, I don't know. I think you got the wrong Nix fix. Let's take this thing apart. So what is wrong with this thing is it doesn't do anything when you plug it in for about 30 seconds and then it's booted. It works just fine. You can't tap and hold the top to reset it. It doesn't light up or do anything until it's booted. But once it's booted, it appears to work perfectly fine. So it's not resetting. But I plugged my USB adapter into it. Took a look at what it was running. Unfortunately, it appears to be running totally normal software. So my guess at first was it's got special software loaded on it that won't let you reset it. But the fact that it's running normal software that I can, as far as I can tell from USB access, then my next guess is maybe that looks different. Is that different? That does look different. This is slightly more transparent than this. Just slightly. Anyways, I was thinking that there's a hardware issue with this that's keeping it from resetting. Maybe the touch panel here is acting up. Well, it's an issue because we can't use it. It'll just, no matter what you do with it, it'll just sit there saying it can't connect to the Wi-Fi. you can't reset it through the home app because it's not added to your home. It's added to some random person's home. For all intents and purposes, this looks like a normal display. Just slightly different plastic on the top. That is weird. Let's try a different display on here and see if that behaves any different. Would you look at that? So can I reset it? I can. Oh no, that means something's wrong with the prototype display. Oh, that's sad.
Your HomePod is about to reset. Keep pressing until you hear 3 beeps.
I don't see any reason why this shouldn't be working. Doesn't look like it's ever been smashed in. The top's not cracked at all. I don't see any reason physically. What's really weird, and I'll show it to you guys once we get this set up, is this works just fine after it boots up. It just does not reset. Doesn't respond to any touch until it's booted up. This looks exactly identical to a production display. The only difference is this plastic is just very slightly more clear. This looks, you can see it actually on camera. I think that's showing up, but it's a very, very subtle difference, but there's definitely a difference. Here is my other prototype display for my black prototype HomePod. I wonder if that's got the same deal. No, see, this one's solid white. This one looks just like a production one. So this is that's weird. I think we should keep tearing this down. I think there might be something else in here that might be different. One other thing I'm curious about is, does it show the boot animation on a factory reset HomePod? It does not. See? Nothing. But if we wait, I'm sure it'll show the thing. It must be different hardware internally inside of the display with different code, and it's just not communicating with the logic board in the same way that production ones do. So it doesn't work until it's booted and it loads some fail-safe driver or something. That's my best guess. Look, you can even see the LEDs. I can see the LED pattern through the top. You can't normally see that with the normal ones. This is interesting. I think both of these are PVTs, or PVQs, or production validation testers. I don't think these are EVTs or DVTs. Mostly because... Actually, I don't know. I actually do not know. It's got a CPFM03, so it's not dev fused at the least. Our mid frame, that looks identical. Our logic board. It's got someone's fingerprint on there. No one's been in here before us, before assembly. But that is an assembly fingerprint for sure. The rest of the whole logic board, it looks identical. And I would expect that with production firmware and non-dev fused. I had a PVT, you would be surprised. I had a PVT in 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. It had the hole in the bottom. It had PVT or PVQ on the bottom of it. And it looked identical as far as the display logic board, power supply, but the amp was different. The amp had so much more on it. Oh, I wish they let me stream it. I wish they let me keep it, but they were not having it. They just wanted it fixed. I'm hoping maybe we've got some something special on the amp in here. What do you mean all your PVTs are identical to production, Mike? You have PVTs? What are you talking about, Mike? You hiding things from me? How many HomePods do I have? I have a few. This plastic feels different. This plastic feels different. The plastic feels different. It is different. Oh my god, it's different plastic. It's like rougher. It's like more matte. It's like the production ones have just, it's slightly smoother. But this has more of like a matte finish to it. Nah, I know what the earlier prototypes look like, and this one's unfortunately not anywhere near that. Someone in my Discord server has an early prototype, like so early that this black plastic is actually clear. I am jealous of his, and it's a CPFM01 too. Alright, I'm going to pry up against the screws for the subwoofer, because I don't want to scratch the woofer itself up in case it's special. Is there anything different on the bottom of this? Nope, it's just, that's weird. The screws look identical, so if I wanna keep this nice on the inside, I can just replace these with some new ones from a HomePod that I didn't bend against the screws. And woofer looks the same, feels the same, smells the same as any other woofer. Dang, everything inside of here looks production. What do we have for a diode? What's the date code on our diode? 1726K. So, I mean, if I wanted to, I could just not take this apart any further and leave it alone until it needs filters. But we're not here to go halfway. We're here to go 90% of the way and then give up right before the finish line. So let's do it. Everything is still looking identical to production here. Looking and feeling. I was curious if they thread locked the power supply screws, and they did. Even back then they were using the red stuff on it. Microphone board looks production. If I'm taking this amp out, I'm going to give it new filters while I have it out. Because once I put this back together, I don't want to take it back apart. I want to put it back together and leave it back together. Screws, even the screws, they all look factory production. Here we go. The last chance for anything to be special here. No, that all looks... Even the model number of the amp chip, that all looks production. Darn. Well, at least we got something kind of different still. There's a difference. I think I've even seen this on production ones, but these pads are tinned with solder, that's tinned with solder, and that's tinned with solder. And I normally don't see them tinned. So I wonder what they were going for there. That's weird because as far as I could tell, these are test pads for the amp controller itself. So you generally wouldn't be soldering anything to this. You would be attaching test probes or a test clip to it. So why they would apply solder to it makes me think that they might have thought of putting in a connector on here for internal debugging and diagnosing, but ended up not just debug pads to attach a clip to, but a full port that you plugged something into. Everything else, though, yeah, everything looks the same as Oh, there is another difference. There is another little difference. Normally, we have, if we look at the connector for where the power supply plugs into, we have whatever this component is. I'm not sure what it is, but we've got one there, and then we've got the same thing over here. Let's look at the prototype, and it's just a straight up resistor right there. Side by side. Here's production. Here's prototype. Very well could just be the same component with different packages. Almost certainly they're doing the same thing at the end of the day. What else? Is there anything else different here? Let's compare the logic board connectors. Yeah, again here we've got the full black casing on this component and then the exposed resistor on here. But everything else looks identical. Nothing extra, nothing missing. I think that might be about it for this one. So that appears to about sum it up for the differences. So we've got in total slightly different plastics for the shell and the basket up top here. We've got obviously we've got the exposed port from the factory in the cutout, which let me grab it. It is made for the factory USB adapter. It just plugs right in there, and there's a flat spot to keep it all sitting nice and flat. They really thought about it. It's so sad that they didn't give this to us in production. Why did they not give this to us in production? Because they hate us. Why do they hate us? Because they ain't us. So, and we've also got, aside from the hole in the butt, we've got the slightly different display here. It's just oh so slightly different with that slightly clearer plastic. That is very interesting. And also the behavior is different. Like, it's weird that it will not load. It won't reset. It won't detect any touch until it's booted up. So that must mean at some point maybe this was running special software and then someone must have loaded production stuff on there and goofed it up or something. I don't know. But in any case, so yeah, one of the things about you can't, the OEM Apple USB adapters don't really fit the production HomePods very well because you have to remove the rubber base in order to access it. And when you do that, it removes a bunch of thickness, so the pins you can't, and it connects, but it doesn't seat, so it just wiggles around, and you're not going to get a good connection. It basically won't work reliably. Not made for production HomePods. These were made for these pre-production HomePods, and I feel like they were going to do it for production, and then they decided for some reason not to. And it goes both ways. I also cannot use my custom USB adapters. These fit the production HomePods perfectly. That's what I made them for. But they do not fit the pre-production ones because it's too short. It won't reach the debug port, the extra thickness of the rubber base, blah, blah, blah. So I think that is that's a pretty decent look inside of our pre-production / prototype HomePod there. And that is also everything that I think was waiting to get fixed that I have the parts for, at least. So we've always got a few things here waiting around here to get wrapped up and taken care of, but we'll save it. We'll save the energy, and yeah, we've been at it for almost 3 hours, so I think we're gonna call it for today. Folks, I hope you all enjoyed this live stream repair and a look inside my prototype pod. I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye.